Hello and welcome to another episode of Finding Serenity in the Midst of Chaos podcast. Today we're talking about learning to create more space and let more goodness into your life with this simple technique I'm going to share today. Hello, Ian.
Hello, Chulai. This sounds a good one today. Well, it's always good, but it's always exciting stuff to talk about. So yeah, I'm well ready for this today.
Yes, this is a really interesting brain hack, as it were. I could have called that.
That's interesting. Yeah,
it's a brain hack to understand and be able to allow yourself to have more space in your life, like literally have more space, whether that's physical space and whether that's mental space. And I think we all need both of them, really, truly. We most probably 90% of people live in clutter, full of clutter, everything that we gathered, the train tickets, this, that, whatever, the letters. And, I used to clear my desk at the end of every year. That's how bad it was.
So I'm looking at my desk in front of me now, and I have just got bits of paper all over the place. It's sort of work in progress. But
yeah,
I remember somebody saying a cluttered desk is a cluttered mind.
well,
Which is a nice little thing a little picture for people like me that like these little pictures. But I think it's right. I noticed beside my bed last night things that were just kind of strewn and placed, and on the little table next to me I just had a bit of a tidy up, and it just looks so much better, so much more peaceful. And I wonder if I like going out dog walking in open spaces so much because it's just that openness. It's that open space. I mean, some people have fear of open spaces. I can't relate to that at all, because I love it. But I think this space is a good thing, and I'm looking forward to learning a bit more today and seeing how we can create more.
Well, there's the thing, and as I was saying, I used to, I had a tidy desk, don't get me wrong, but at the end of each year I would clear out all my drawers and whatever, and then I find if I haven't touched this for the last 6 months, it's unlikely that I'll ever come back to it. So just get rid of it. That's the kind of principle that I was clearing the spaces with. And the more and then I started to actually learn this as an exercise to do in order to bring more things into your life, almost like a money manifestation, or manifesting some things new into your life. And
this is an interesting concept.
Here's where it's coming from.
Okay.
If you wanted to build a house, right?
Yeah.
What is the first thing that you would do? People would do?
Have a space to do it in.
Yeah, you create the space first. You dig up a certain amount of space, put the foundations or whatever. But the first thing you do is to create that space. If there is no space for the new things to come in, they won't be able to come in. This is just a physical law, right?
Sure.
You can't argue with that. There's no space, you can't bring it in. So the same thing applies to you in your life. Just like you can't put anything new onto your desk if there is no space, you have to clear it out. You have to clear out things in your mental space in order for the new things to come. So if you're into personal development or you want to learn more, you go to the trainings, you read personal development books, you go to yet another training, you try and get more qualifications. What's happening? You're cluttering the space with lots of learning, but you haven't applied anything. You haven't gone try and embody any of the things that you learn, because if you were reading a book, probably 90% you already forgotten. That's another known fact.
That's it about learning, and listening is even less. One
listening
has
is
to
slightly
do
more,
something.
but it's still until you embody any of the things that you learn, it's pretty much cluttering really of your brain. And the geniuses, the expert genius, like I think something like, I don't quite know this, I'm going to probably mess it up, but Einstein said, somebody asked Einstein, how do you convert from this to this, like it's a metric to whatever. So I don't know. It's an information I can find within seconds from Google or whatever. Why do I need to remember this information?
Yes.
It's obviously at the time Google didn't exist, but he could still get to that information pretty quickly from his textbooks or whatever. He doesn't need to remember, but we want to remember all these little information and all memorize these things, just to feel like we're actually getting somewhere, or we are gathering knowledge.
I suppose that's it, isn't it? Look at me, you know, I can remember stuff. I must be, you know, I must be really good, sort of thing. But
yeah,
used to be a to-do list pad that we had at work. This is
yeah,
and it said, to-do list. It said, write it down. Don't try to remember it.
Yeah,
I thought that, you know, because you get it off your brain, get it down on paper, then you haven't got to remember it. You've got a list to, you know, and that is something that I have used a lot during
yeah.
you know,
on a side
working in
note, funnily enough, when you do write it down, you remember it more, because
this is
often
true.
I don't ever have to refer to a shopping list, because once I write it down, I remember what I wrote down, and it just I can recall. Clever me. But you know, I can recall it more importantly because it works in that way.
It does work, yeah. So, I can do that with putting things in. If I set a reminder, I set an alarm on my phone or something for 2:20, I don't need the alarm, you know, a few minutes before it goes off, I know it's time for me to I don't know, put the dustbins out or whatever I set the alarm for. So it's something more significant than that, I'm sure. But if the act of doing something to help you remember secures it in your mind a bit more. So yeah.
But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. What we're
talking about, it's not as fascinating as it is. We've got something more fascinating to talk about. Yeah.
So creating that space in your mind. So recently I've been working with some clients who are, you know, highly educated, high up in their roles, and they're very busy people. They're extremely busy, and they are struggling to create some space in their days. And understandably, because these people wake up to minimum of 120 emails because they work internationally. I mean, the fact that you could even receive 120 emails overnight is just beyond me. I used to think 10 emails was bad, but this is obviously, times have definitely changed. But yeah, I mean, how could you even get any work done? You would just be replying to emails all day long if they were all relevant to you. So
that's right. Yeah.
And of course, understandably, they are struggling to create some space. You know, how do you even do that? But then this is on the face of it, but when you really dig deep, how many of those emails are really important to you? How many of those really relate to you? How many of those are you just copied for information?
Yes.
How many of those do you really need to take action on? How many
especially
of those,
as a manager, you know, you get copied. People just copy you because you're the manager. They want you to see it. But, you know, how much of that is really relevant? And, you know, people should call you and contact you in other ways if it's important and you haven't responded. There's all sorts of things we could talk about, you know, in the corporate and business and, you know, world of work. But,
and here's the thing, how many of those is really just people ranting at you or putting their own brain dump onto you, and actually none of that has, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. Here's the things, here's my thoughts, great, now what? You know, I had many of those before, and I used to get really rattled, or some of my colleagues used to get rattled about it, but it's like, okay, she hasn't said anything different. It's just what she thinks in her little complicated way of thinking. That's fine. It's not going to change your action. It's just what it is. Fine. But then, of course, you wasted your time and energy reading it anyway. So how do we create that space? First of all, we have to choose it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And this is the thing. We, for some reason, have been built up and brought up to believe that everything is out of our, you know, everything is outside of us. We have no control. Yes, we have no control about outside the world, but we can control some things. We can choose and be responsible for how our day goes, even if it may depend on other people sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you get to choose and dictate and create your own time plan or whatever. So why not go ahead and do that? Choose that I'm only going to respond to emails with my name on it. I'm only going to respond to emails when somebody specifically asks me to take action. Everything else can wait or has nothing to do with me. It's just there for information. And if it's important enough, I'm going to find out. Right?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Well, these are some practical tips that you can apply to your daily life. But again, choosing, you can choose to find that space. Where do you find the space? You can go, well, if you want to go for a walk, and if you're traveling by tube or a bus or whatever,
yeah,
get off the bus two stops before and walk for the last 10 minutes. The bus stops are probably about 100 meters away from each other anyway these days.
If you're in a city,
if you're in a city, so you could do that. So there's no excuse for creating the space. And here's the hack that we're going to talk about.
Great, here we go.
But before, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. And now I'm going to give you the hack.
Please subscribe. We want the hack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Okay.
Again, the space, we talked about it at the very beginning. How do we create space? Why do we even need to create space in our day, in our life? Why does it help? If you're breathing, what is the first? Breathe.
Breathing in, breathing out. Yeah.
Breathing out. Out. If you don't breathe out, if you constantly take breathe, if you're not breathing out, what's going to happen?
Yep. You're going to either fill up or run out one way or the other. You know, you're just going to, it's not going to work, is it?
So in order to be able to breathe in again, you have to breathe out first, which means you have to create a space within you for the next thing to come in. So learning more, doing more, saying yes, doing constantly, and thinking that that's helping you and helping others is a waste of your time. Here's a hack. Think, simply take this very example from nature, from your own building, which, we are built in the best, most, sophisticated ways. Our bodies know everything. Yeah. And it's got such a great intelligence, because if you don't breathe out, you can't breathe back in again. If you keep doing that, you're probably gonna physiologically go bonkers. I can't even bring myself to say what it could be,
it's
right?
Some respiration, I suppose, isn't it? Is the whole process. You're just going to it's be imbalanced, and
exactly.
So you have to let work. Yeah,
you have to let something out. You have to create that space for the new things to come in, and whether that's mental space. Oh, I don't have time. Well, you can sit down. We said that a couple of weeks ago. Sit down for a minute before you go on to the next thing. Literally sit back on your chair, take a deep breath, a couple of deep breaths, and just slow yourself down. For 1 minute, you can do that. And you will find that already regulates your nervous system incredibly. And if you did that 3 times a day, morning, lunchtime, afternoon, or before bed, 4 minutes a day, you are still slowing down. And when you slow down, you allow other things to come into your life, whether that's great ideas, whether it's great thoughts, whether it's to be able to look up and just notice what's around you. Because living in this constant hamster wheel isn't what we are designed for. Yeah, we can do that because we are we've trained ourselves to function, but we're not here to just function. We are here that's what computers are for. We are here to live. We are here to experience. We are here to enjoy.
To enjoy and have a fulfilling life, not just to exist and do. And that's right. And if you're constantly just onto the next thing, you don't appreciate. There isn't that step back and appreciate and enjoy that joy and fulfillment from a job well done. You miss it, don't you? Because you're just rushing on to the next thing, and it becomes meaningless then, doesn't it, in a way,
Absolutely.
to you as an individual?
Exactly. You're not celebrating anything because it becomes, as you're functioning, you're the next thing, you're going to get to the next job, next title, next this, next that. But when did you even look up to enjoy? Oh my God, celebrate something. And if you don't celebrate, if you don't enjoy, what's the point of having the title? And this is the thing.
Yeah.
We just rush 100 miles ahead to get to a place. And when you arrive at the place, oh, now what's next?
Yes.
And your whole life you worked for that place, or your whole whatever the period.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really about the place, was it?
That's right.
And it was, and if you didn't enjoy the journey of getting there, what was the point in the first place? And we were talking again offline about how time goes so quickly. Before you know it, your children grows up and you get older and you do this, you do that, and it's just that your life passed you by whilst you're just constantly achieving the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So what is the point? We are here for a purpose. We are here to bring something to this world. It wasn't just a coincidence that you were born.
No, that's right. I think, we've all got a purpose. We've all got a plan. Yeah.
And you cannot deny that by constantly trying to go from one thing to another. Not for long. Eventually you will realize at some point, sooner rather than later, hopefully, that you do have a purpose and you are here to live that purpose, whether that's to do your day job in the best way possible and still enjoy your life, or whether that's to do something entirely different and serve others in a different way. You still do have a purpose. So please don't deny that of yourself and just enjoy the moment. And there's no excuse of not slowing down. You can slow down for a minute, because if you don't, your life will pass you by. So I think this is a good place to place. Yeah.
It's great. No, and it reminds me of how I used to think back at junior school, that we used to write the date at the top of a page, in our books. That's as the teacher was, I'm talking about when I was 6, 7 years old. Write today's date, Tuesday, January the 13th, and then next day, Wednesday, January the 14th. And you've got this real focus on the time and the date. And so often I need to look at my watch to just remind me what the date is, and I think, well, that's terrible, because I'm just zoom. I don't even know what day it is or what the date is. That's terrible. I mean, I'm not like it now. I'm just thinking back to how perhaps I used to work in industry and and other things outside of my main job as well. It's taking on too much. And it's not having time to do things properly, not having time to enjoy and really take the fulfillment from a job done well. And it's such a shame, because we all need that fulfillment and joy in our lives, and we are better people when we have it. And if we don't, we're missing out. And you say, what's the real point of that?
Yeah. So if any of what you hear today is resonated with you, this is what we are here for. This is what I'm here for. And I can help you. I help many people like you in this exact same situation get out of it. You don't even have to leave your job to get out of this situation, but we will I will teach you the techniques and the strategies as to manage them so that you can still be the best at your job and still have a life outside of it. So like I said, do subscribe to our channel and join us again next week in this wonderful podcast.
Thanks, Julie. Lovely to talk to you again. It's a win-win situation for everyone. So we'll see you next time.
See you.